Life law number 3 that I talk about in a book I wrote back in 1998 is that you create your own experience. Life law number 4 is people do what works. You create your own experience. What does that mean? It means you create this aura around you. You create the principle of reciprocity. You get what you give. If you put out negative, you get back negative. You put out positive, you get back positive. If you put out energy, then you energize those around you. We create our own experience. And life law 4, people do what works. You don't repeat behaviors that don't work, you repeat behaviors that do work. My telling you that is trying to fill in some blanks in your thinking. Is that manipulative? I hope so, because I hope it's changing the way you think. I'm going to give you an example of manipulation here in just a few minutes, so stand by for that. But I say you have to write it down, and I'm going to talk to you about 7 steps, and I'm going to put these on our website because right now, if you're driving or walking or you're mowing the yard or cleaning the house or whatever you're doing and you don't have a pen and pad handy or you're not at your laptop and can't write them down, that's okay. I'm going to talk to you about them, but then I'm going to put the chart on the website so you can click on it and see exactly what's there. There are 7 key strategies for attaining your goal. This is based on a list that I have espoused, as I say, since the 90s when I wrote about it in Life Strategies in 1998. You use it as a way to clearly define your goal. You're going to have a timeline, and you're going to have the steps necessary for achieving it. Now, number 1, you have to express your goal in terms of specific events or behaviors. For example, my goal is to get a promotion. My goal is to get him to pop the question. My goal is to lose 30 pounds. It has to be specific. It can't just be, my goal is to do better in life. That's not it. It's got to be specific. So lose 30 pounds, get him to pop the question and ask me to marry him, get the promotion at work. It has to be specific. Number 2, you have to express your goal in terms that can be measured. You can't just say, I need to be a better person. You have to operationally define that. What's the operational definition of better person? What does that look like? How can you measure that? 30 pounds, easy to measure. Getting him to pop the question, either does or he doesn't. But it has to be measured. Number 3, you have to assign a timeline to your goal. We don't leap tall buildings in a single bound. We go up a floor at a time on an elevator. We don't have capes, so we got to do this a step at a time. You have to work this out with a timeline and then fill in the steps. It can't be, all right, I want to go back and finish my college degree, and I want to have it done in 2 years. Well, okay, that's fine, but we need smaller bites than 2 years. So what are we going to do by the end of this month? Well, by the end of this month, you need to figure out what step you're going to do then. I'm going to have ordered my transcripts and made an appointment with an academic counselor to figure out exactly what courses I need to graduate. I'm going to get that done by the end of the month. I'm going to order my transcripts. As soon as I get them, within the next week, I'm going to make an appointment with a counselor at the college and go in and figure out exactly what I have to graduate. So that might be a timeline of 2 weeks to get the transcripts and 2 weeks to meet with a counselor. It's not 2 years I'm going to have a degree. You've got to fill in the steps. This is like walking across a creek and you've got to go from one stone to the next stone to the next stone to the next stone. We're not going to wade neck deep in water and then figure out a month before the 2 years is up, we didn't check all the boxes. Number 4, you have to choose a goal you can control. Don't set a goal like, we're going to have a white Christmas this year. Well, really? You don't control that. You got to choose something you control. There's got to be something that you have access to, that you can pull the levers on, which means it has to be about you. You're the only person you control. You can inspire others. but you only control you. Okay, then number 5, you have to plan and program a strategy that will get you to your goal. So, what we've done so far is you've expressed your goal in specific events and behaviors. You've done it in terms that can be measured. You've put it against a timeline. You've made sure to choose a goal that you can control. Now you've got to set a program or a strategy that will get you there. And you have to make sure that you've got the money, the time, and the access to do that. So you've got to be realistic here. We said go back to college and finish up your degree. Well, okay, you may want to do this in 9 months, but the fact is you're working 50 hours a week. So the best you're going to do is 6 hours a semester, night school, which is 2 classes. You can do that 2 semesters, 2 long semesters, and then you can maybe do 6 hours over the summer. So you're going to get 18 hours a year. So 2 years is going to be 36 hours, okay? Is that 2 years or is that 2 semesters? Don't set a goal that's just not realistic. You're just going to disappoint yourself. And do you have the money to do that? If you don't, then you need to go back in your steps and put in there applying for an academic loan or figuring out how you're going to finance it. People say, I'm going to quit my job and become a real estate agent. Well, okay. But you know what? It might be 6 months before you collect your first commission. So do you have a plan to live until you collect that first commission? If not, this is a pipe dream. This isn't a goal. A goal has to be realistic. You have to have a way to get from where you are to where you're going. And that means, okay, I'm going to become a realtor, but I've got to finance that until I get to my first commission. So either my spouse is going to have to go to work if they don't already, or I'm going to have a part-time job that pays money every week. Be realistic about this. If you're going to set a goal, you have to be realistic, and that means coming up with a plan that ensures that you have the money, the time, and the access. You need to identify what the potential obstacles are and what are the resources required to achieve it. And then define your goal in terms of steps. Make these steps something that keeps you moving week to week to week. I said earlier, it's got to be measurable. So maybe first step is ordering your transcripts. Second step is seeing a counselor. Third step is getting your finances in order. Fourth step is finding out what the deadline is for enrollment and arranging your schedule for childcare, setting things up. Figure out what all of the steps are and put them in order so you know what you have to do to realistically do this. Let me tell you, when you start clicking these things off, you start to experience momentum. You look at yourself, it's like painting a black wall white or a white wall black. You see progress, and progress overcomes momentum. And when you overcome inertia, you get momentum. And when you do that, you start getting excited. You start getting energized. And number 7 is you have to create accountability. You've got to have somehow, some way, somebody that's going to check you out. Somebody that you really like, somebody you really trust, somebody's got the courage to call you out that's going to check with you every Friday, every Wednesday. Somebody's going to check you out and say, okay, I've got a copy of your plan. You were going to get the applications for a student loan and have them filled out by today. Do you? Let me see them. And if you don't, then you've got to sit down right then with them and do what you have to do. Have accountability so you know you're going to have to face somebody besides yourself. Because you might take your excuses, but they may not. So you want somebody that you give license to hold your feet to the fire. So that's number 7. You're not quite finished, though. There's another step to this accountability, and it's the accountability to yourself. And I want you to write down the answer to this question. How will I feel when I obtain my goal? How will I feel when I obtain my goal? What will it mean to you? And if you can't answer that question with great clarity, you might have the wrong goal. But I'm betting if you've gone to all of this trouble to figure this out, you don't have the wrong goal. So answer the question. How are you going to feel when you achieve this goal? What's it going to mean to you to know that you've taken control of your life and you have achieved this goal instead of letting days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and years turn into a lifetime? Write down how you're going to feel. You're going to feel proud. You're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel excited. You're going to feel energized. You're going to feel like you have a second chance. You're going to feel like you set a great example for your kids. I mean, how are you going to feel? So now you've become proactive, right?